So the question of the Maimah was that the Medrash says, first the Maimah established the Vayehi Hashmini, which was the day when the Shekhinah, the Mishkan, the Shekhinah came down to the Mishkan. So first he explained the Mile of Shmini from the Kli Yakar. The Kli Yakar's question is, on the one hand, Shmini makes it sound like it's simply a continuation of the previous 7 days, when it's not. So the Kli Yakar answers that it's the Mile of Shmini is that it's Echad Roichev al Zayin. It's one that rides atop of the 7. So it's not part of the 7, it's beyond it, but somehow related to it. And he says that it brings the various midrashim that 7 is associated with Chayil and Shmini with Kodesh. Now the same medrash that says okay, then there's another medrash, which actually brings this, that Vayehi Hashmini on that day, which was a Chedesh Nisan, so that day took 10 crowns. And the medrash associates not the medrash, that's connected, this is the Rabbi brings it to Midrashim, another medrash, that's connected to Moishe Mashiach, which will be 8. The kinnah will be of 8 strings, and Elam Haba of 10 strings. So we see the association between 8, which is beyond Ishtalshalus, and likewise 10. It's beyond even Moishe Mashiach, Elam Haba. So therefore, all of this is the introduction to the question that the first thing that the Medrash mentions about the 10 crowns, which we established is connected to Elam Haba, beyond even the Shemina Nimin. So the first thing that the Medrash mentions is the first day of creation. And that is a complete contradiction to everything that's being stated, namely that it's beyond creation. So he started to answer that there's a big mile of the first day of creation, because on that day was illuminated this oir, and this oir, Adam Arishan could see from one end of the world to the other. And the Eibishter subsequently hid this, and it is to be revealed only Lasid Lavai. So I assume you all heard the voice note. When did Hashem hide it? So there's 2 opinions. They explained that at the Pshat level, Rashi, Pshat Yishon Mikra, he hid it immediately, because Rashi doesn't bring this medrash that Adam could see from one end of the world to the other, because Adam was only created on the 6th day. There's another medrash, Eloshim, which says a man could see. So that's not a contradiction. Not that he actually did, but one could. Shohaya ha'adam, not Adam Harishim, but a person. But this Lashon medrash is that actually Adam did see from one end of the world to the other. So as I mentioned, the Maral answers that in fact Hashem only hid it after Motzei Shabbos. In as much that Adam Harishon remained in Gan Eden till Shabbos, there's no reason to hide it. The whole reason Hashem hid it is because he didn't want the Rishonim to exploit it. The world wasn't worthy. There's also 2 different midrashim, but it's the same theme. But when did he actually hide it? Not immediately, which as it appears, but rather Motzei Shabbos. At any rate, that was an aside, just to clarify when this was hidden. So this, the Mile of Yom Rishon, is that this Oir illuminated. And Rashi brings this medrash on the words Vayavdel Elikim, and Hashem separated the light. How do you separate light? So it gives 2 explanations, but one of them is this very point, that this light was separated by the Eibishter, actually divided, divided by Hashem, as we just explained, and hidden for the tzaddikim, Lasid Lavai. But the Rebbe's diak is that he divided the oil, there's 2 levels to the oil. That in the oil, if there's the chitzonius oil, which is shaychus to oilemus, and the etzem oil, which is hiding oilemus. And on that, he have dilali atzmai. But that was initially even that level was illuminated before Vayavdil Elikim, that illuminated in the world on the Yom Rishon, the Etzem Oir. So we understand now the Gewaldigkeit of this Oir. And then he adds, what is this Oir? This Oir, as he goes on to say, is from where the havos of the bringing into being of creation comes into being. So this is going to be elaborated upon later in the creation, in the Maimer. Just some words of explanation now, just as a heads up. In general, in the divine forces responsible in an ongoing way for creation are two. Havai and Elikim, as the Torah concludes the whole discussion of creation, the whole description of creation. So it starts up Bereshis Bara Elikim. But then it concludes B'yom Asayis Havaya Elikim. That's because Elikim is the manifested operative Koyach Eliki, but Be'emes, its creation comes as a result of this synergy of these two manifestations, Havaya and Elikim. And in general, the different roles, Havaya is, which in general he is the Etzem Ma'ir, relatively speaking. Havaya is responsible for the actual Ishavos, which means the creation Yesh Ma'ayin, something from nothing. Now, to create something from nothing is beyond stupendous. It's incomprehensible, fundamentally incomprehensible, because we can't even begin with the nothing from which the something begins. You can't entertain nothing. It's a contradiction in terms. If you entertain something, it's something. You know, meditation seeks to approach nothingness, but if it's honest, it recognizes it never can. You can't empty the mind of anything. You can think of nothing, as it were, in terms of some hardcore description, but there's still consciousness on some level. Even if it's just the blue light. There's a blue light, or before that, the very stages of meditation. Akoponim, you can't imagine nothing by definition. Imagination is imagining something. Intellectually, we can just say no thing, but we can't really grasp it. So we certainly can't understand creation. Yesh ma'ayin. We cannot even entertain what was prior to creation, which is really no thing but God Himself, which we cannot entertain or grasp or imagine either. And the whole notion, therefore, of creating something out of nothing is totally beyond our ken. Although we can intellectually appreciate it and say the words. In fact, when we say nothing, what are we saying? We're not saying what it is, we're saying it's no thing. It's Yediyas Hashlila. We can't give it an affirmative appellation of description because that would make it something. So the mind has to say simply nothing. In the negative sense, no thing. Akalponim, so this koyach to create something out of nothing is common and present in all things equally. It's no bigger miracle to create not a pebble, no, a sand. Sand is made up of what?
Grains.
Granule. What grain? Huh? A grain of sand. It's no bigger miracle to create a grain of sand out of nothing, or for that matter, an atom, or a molecule, or a subatomic molecule, or whatever, than it is to create the sun. They're both fundamentally impossible. This yesh ma'ayin, something from nothing phenomena. So this is a koyach makif, seviv kalal min, or etzem bayir. It's all relative. It depends on which darkness we speak. We're speaking very generally now. So it's equal in terms of all. Its role in all of the ilamus b'shaveh equally, because the miracle of bringing into being something from nothing it's the same miracle. It's not a bigger miracle to create something more complex or bigger than to create something small, from small or big, that is from our view. Both are essentially impossible. But the Eibishter does it out of nothingness, where there's only God, something appears. And then Elikim, the role of Elikim is this.
Can I just ask? I mean, but there's the Eberster. There's nothing.
Sorry?
But there's nothing but the Eberster. So you, in theory, there's still something because there's the Eberster.
That's not a thing the way everything else is a thing. The
But it
Eberster is
comes
not an
from-
entity like everything else is an entity. She has nothing in common with everything else. It's not a thing in any possible way that you can entertain, or an angel, or Atzilus, or anything. We have to say God is, because, I'm not going to say God isn't, but the truth is he's beyond God is and isn't, as explained at length in the opening paragraphs of the Rambam, as the Rebbe explains it in an extraordinary sikha in 1975, which is a real profound classic. At any rate, he's motzui and ein motzui. He is and he is not. Transcending both is and isn't. It's a different kind of being, but language fails, so we say God is, but that's not really true in the way we understand is for everything else. At any rate, so Elikim is responsible for the teva, which means the nature. Teva also means the stamp and form of like a coin. It's matbeya. Matbeya is a coin. Why is it called a coin? What makes a coin is not just a slab of silver or copper, but a coin has a particular value stamped on it. That makes it a matbeya, a coin, Maloshin Teva. So Teva is the stamp, is the unique value, level, rank, and all of the properties that the particular nivra has. That is Shem Elikim. Because Shem Elikim is already Ishtalshalus, and the emergence of, as a result of the Tzimtzum, on the Eira Bligvul, what emerges now is defined, descriptive properties and qualities, and they all blend and mix and are manifested, expressed by God in virtually endless ways, producing the virtually endless creations, spiritual and physical, each having their own teva. Teva also means to be sunken, as in tuva b'yamsuf, because teva conceals thereby the constant creation of all things as they come into being every moment, yesh ma'ayin. Anyway, that's a general introduction to what's coming in the rest of the Maimon. All right, we're going to continue. Yeah, everybody's with me? Yeah, so So this, all to say that this oir that was revealed on the first day of creation, this is the etzem ma'or, which is responsible, as it were, for creation. This havas ha'olamus, the bringing into being of creation. And that was concealed. We don't feel that we are constantly being brought into existence every moment and concealed by divine design. Otherwise it would preclude free choice, or if God allowed us to have free choice, then it would be terribly corrupted, used in the most unimaginably destructive ways. So that's what now we understand. We're getting some glimpse of why the Medrash says that one of the milas of the first day of the Chodesh Nisan, that on this day it took, or it has 10 crowns, 10 beginnings, and one of them is the first day of creation, because the first day of creation is not like the other days of creation. On that day was Meir, the Eir Kitoiv. The Baal Shem Tov then says, he brings now, well, this is also understood from the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov, who said that where this light hidden, is hidden in Torah. And we see in Torah also these two things. The one hand, Torah is pre-creation, that's his pneumius, that's that light. On the other hand, Torah comes down into the world to deal with Mitzrayim and Yetzer Hara and parents and children and everything else. So, but hidden in Torah is this Oir. Okay, that's the general outline. Now we're going to go into detail. Yeah, are we good, folks? Okay, so we just heads up here too. A lot of quotations and stuff, but it's not we'll try and keep it simple in terms of what he's conveying here. It says in Zoya, of course, it's out of Lag BaOmer. Whole Chassidus is based on the Teiros Shel Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, but we're just noting it, which is taught in the Zoya. In Parshas Emor, which we just learned, Bagdom of the Parshas Amoyadim. So Parshas Emor, right there, there's all the mitzvahs, the commandments, observe the Yom Tovim. So there, as an introduction to the Parsha of the Moyadim, the Zohar says, Rabbi Yitzchak Posach, Rabbi Yitzchak opened and began and said, Vayikra likim la'or yom. And the Eibishter called the light day. And he explains the Inyan Oish, Nivavi Marisha, and there he talks about this, what we're talking about here, the light that was created on the first day, which had gone to the tzaddikim l'sadlove, and Hashem hid it for the tzaddikim in the future to be revealed in Olam Haba, as we quoted earlier. I'm sorry. And he's Rabbi Yitzchak in the Zohar, that continues and says, Sheyoim, when you say Yom, so kolol miyoim v'layla, it doesn't just mean day. Yom means day and night. Like the pasuk says, it was even, it was morning, and it was one day. And therefore, since Yom means this achdus, this unity of night and day, so when will this be revealed? It's dafke lasid lavoi. Why? This is what he said in Zohar. She'ozi Yisrael bis achdus, for then Yidden will be united. Well, it's going to take lasid lavoi for finally to have true unity, but obviously the preparation for that is now. But the shleimus will be then. Goy echad, one people. Now, till be that it lacks this true unity. Therefore, this oil is not drawn into the world. But then in the future will be this true achdus. Then this light that Hashem says He saw that it was good will be drawn down in a world. That's a quotation from the Gemara, and it's a lashon that we use describing lasid lavai. It's all good. That's connection to the oir kitov. End of quote. So what does Rabbi Yitzchak say? Rabbi Yitzchak says that this oir that was created, revealed only in Bereshit, is hidden. It's going to be revealed only lasid lavai, because that oir embraced Yom and Laila, Achdus. And when Yidden are ba'achdus, the world will be ba'achdus, and then this light will be revealed, which is all good, purely good. End of quote. Now the Rebbe says, Omnam, however, me'akdomas inyan zeh lepashas hamoyadim, the fact that Rabbi Yitzchak, he gives this teaching as introduction to the Torah's command to observe the Yom Tovim. What's it doing here? This commentary belongs where? In Bereshit. It belongs in Bereshit, where the Torah describes Vayavdel Elikim, right? Why is he teaching this to us here? Mashma, the inference is that on Yom Tov, however, this oir is meir. Obviously, not in the when we say the word meir, illuminates. We don't experience it. We don't. Tzaddikim do. But the world doesn't experience it. But it means by meir is it's present. But moreover, we say to him is moreover, another place in Zohar that says, also talking in brackets there, also talking binyan ha'irki toiv eragonos, where the Zohar there also discusses this good light, this hidden light. And the Zohar makes a statement there, Shalei monalei b'chol yom, that the truth is Hashem does not hold it back every day. It's a startling statement. Having said that it's hidden, it's still not being held back. What does it mean it's not held back? Well, Pirush Ramez, the Ramez explains, famous Pirush in the Zohar, what is this light? Now, this light, this earth not being held back any day or every day, is what we're talking about earlier. This is the earth which is responsible for these havos, which is ongoing, without which nothing could exist. As he goes on to say, that's this we refer to this earth every day when we say and praise Hashem before Kriya Shema of Tuva in His goodness. Again, invoking the word Tov. This is good, which is all connected to the earth. Kitov. In His goodness, Mechadesh, He renews B'chol Yom Tomid every day continuously. Ma'aseh Bereishis is the works of creation. What's the goodness that we're praising Hashem with? It's this Eir Kitov, which is present, as the Zohar says, not withheld, present daily or constantly. This was the light that was radiated and revealed in the first day. It's every day. And His goodness, He renews it every day. So what's being said now? There's all different levels. On one level, it's hidden. On another level, and only to be revealed when there's achdus between Yidden and the world. That's on one level. On another level, it's present every Yom Tov. That's implied by Rabbi Yitzchak's introductory teaching to the Moyadim. And moreover, on another level, it's present every day. Constantly. Not just present, but constant. He's just now elaborating on this Mechadesh, which we talked about now, the renewal of creation. So we praise Hashem, we say every day, and we're talking about this Eragonas, the Kitov. So how do we describe it as Hashem renewing? What does renewing mean? It's not just refreshing. You can understand renewing as, on a more external level, as refreshing, as, like you would water your garden, water the plant, and refresh the plant. That's also kind of ischachus. That's not what's meant here. What's meant here is the true essential ischachus. Shepirusha hu ischachus yesh ma'ayin, renewal, as in renewing its fundamental existence. Yesh, something ma'ayin from nothing. And therefore we say, we praise Hashem for renewing every day, and that isn't enough either. We add the word Tomid continuously. Because when we understand, get down to the core nature of existence, which is Yesh Me'ayin, this has to be constant. As he explains at length in Tanya, that the creation of heaven and earth, it's not the same way as a physical vessel is formed by the material, by the clay. Once the potter has made the vessel, so it continues to exist in its build, literally, in its form, even after the hands of the potter, the one who fashions it. The Ummah means the expert. His hands are being removed from the vessel exists. Why? Because the fundamental components of the vessel exist independent of the potter. All he does is play with its shape. And playing with its shape does not require the constant input of the creator of the shape. Whereas but the creation of all of existence, because it comes from nothing, this needs every moment, every instant. Right? So very simply, something from nothing is nothing. It's still nothing. So how does it exist? It needs the constant force to bring it into being. And all the various examples brought in Chassidus, even in our world, and all relative examples, because there is no real nothingness in our world. But a relative example, a relative related example is in fact Kriyas Yamsuf. The gist of that moshel is, it's not the same exactly, but it serves in some ways as a understanding the idea of constant ischachus, that in order for the water, whose nature is to flow downwards, to stand upright, it needs a constant force. Because the nature of water, by its nature, is to flow down. So likewise, all of creation. So let me just take that moshel and adapt it. So imagine a bowl of water, and the person is blowing in the center of the bowl and creates a vacuum. She's blowing for a moment, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 10 hours, 1,000 years. He's blowing into the bowl, and there's this perfect vacuum, empty space, not a vacuum, but an empty space in the center of the bowl. He stops blowing. A second later, someone comes and views the bowl. He can never know, looking at it, that for 1,000 years, there's this empty space here. It fundamentally disappears, like it never was, because it only existed contrary to the nature of the water. And it needs therefore a constant force. And removed for a millisecond, then the nature of the water will assert itself. It's being held back, as it were, and the empty space will disappear. The water will fill all the space. That's a crude mashal, but it gives us at least starting point. Prior to creation, Hashem fills everything. It's not really true, that statement. There's no everything to fill. But at any rate, Hashem is everything. And Hashem decides this impossibility, in addition to the exclusivity of the likus, which precludes anything else. The Eibusher's exclusivity, mechuyev hametzias, he is because he is, therefore his absolute being, again, this language here, not being in being as we know being, but beyond that, and nonetheless absolutely true. And Hashem decides to create something else, it's impossible. So that can only endure as long as he impossibly wills it to endure. Like the motion of the water, that empty space can only exist as long as there's this force that allows it. The moment it stops, the reality of the water resumes as it always was and fills the empty space. Hashem stops creating for a second, then its creation disappears fundamentally without even a trace of it ever being, not even a memory of it. And then what resumes is the eternal reality of God alone. Many other mashalim brought in Chassidus as well. Actually, the most famous mashal is the stone. But it's too many pratim, because all of these mashalim bring out different aspects of creation. In Samach Gimel, the Rebbe Rashab is ma'arich there the mashal of the flying stone. At any rate, that the flight of the stone is contrary to the stone, and it's flying through the air against its very nature, only by virtue of the force, velocity that is wrapped around the stone that bears it aloft and makes it fly. So as you're looking through the air, you're looking at the stone as it's flying, and you ask the question, is the stone flying? The answer is yes and no. The stone isn't flying. In fact, it's fighting its flight, but it is being flown contrary to its very nature. So it's flying, but the truth is it's being flown. It isn't flying, it's being flown. So the same is true of creation. Does the world exist? The answer is no. The world is being brought into existence. That's true. It's being existed, if there's such a word, such a verb. That's a true statement. The world is being existed at every moment. Does it exist? Which means, are we asking the question, does the world creation have intrinsic reality? Does it exist? The answer is no. Left to its own device, it fundamentally collapses and disappears. Or another moshel, this is when you conjure an image in your head. You close your eyes and you think about your house. So that image, again, this is not a perfect, we have no perfect mashalim for yesh mayim, just approximations and very distant ones. But for our limited minds, it's somewhat helpful. Again, it's a starting point. So when you ask someone, so imagine the image in your head. So is there an image in your head? You thinking of your house? Yeah. But is that house, that that image exists independently from you? That image is only there because you want to think about it. The moment you stop thinking, it disappears. Now, not fundamentally, because there's a memory you once thought about it. So somewhere deep in the brain cells, deep in the computer, there's this image. So it's not a perfect marshal, but it just gives us this some measure of understanding. When you imagine that picture, the picture is there, but it has no independence. There's no house in your head. There's an image of a house that you are conjuring. And when you stop conjuring it, it's gone. So all of creation exists within the Eibishter. It's real, but its reality is not its own reality. Its reality is Hashem's desire that it be. So again, the definition of creation is, what is it? It's something God desires to be at every moment. That's its truth. It doesn't have its own truth. Really, all of this is said in the Rambam. Incredibly, in the opening Prakim, with the lens of Chassidus, and even actually before Chassidus, it's pretty much there. The Pirush and the Rambam explains that Hashem is only the true being, Hamitis Imotzai, because everything else is only true because he wants it to be true. It doesn't have its own truth. Only he is the true Metzius. At any rate, so that's the Eir which was manifested and revealed in the first moments of creation. Concluding, so this is our every day that we're praising Hashem. This is all an introduction to Shema, to the Avas Olam. But then the whole point of the Holy Bonus is that this is awesome. This Oir that's ever present in creation. And then we say the Shema, and Avas Olam, maybe she chose us and gave us Torah mitzvahs, and Torah mitzvahs is totally beyond even that. At any rate, let's conclude. So this is we're praising Hashem. He renews in His goodness. Appreciating the incredible wonder of renewal, something from nothing. How could this happen? It only because it draws on His goodness. Now, His again, we're not qualifying whose goodness. No level here, because it's beyond any of the names, even though I said it's Shem Havaya, but again, it's all relative. Which explains in Tanya that to create Yesh Ma'ayin is only B'cheika Atzmos, the Eibishter himself, to create fundamentally something from nothing. In general terms, that's what we speak about. Even though I said Soivev and I said Havaya, but it's all relative. It's all how we refer to it. But in general terms, it's the Teva Atzmid, Atzmos Ein Sof, which creates Yesh Ma'ayin. And that was revealed on the first day. And that's going to be explored and explained in greater detail as the Maimon progresses. The Maimon will talk about Ilah V'Olul, and that how extraordinary that is, and how that works, which we looked in the previous Maimon, and then contrast that to Yesh Ma'ayin to appreciate even greater the Chiddush, the Ischachus of something from nothing, Yesh Ma'ayin, that was all revealed on the first day. And then, of course, what it means in Avodah, and for each one of us to be seen Be'ezrat Hashem.